Welcome everyone to Café Sin Ego. I'm Mónica Salmón, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Stephan Shelanski. Bienvenido, Stephan. Welcome to Café Sin Ego.
Thank you. Thank you for sitting down to talk with me.
I'm very excited to be here. Can you please share with us your experience like studying at Harvard? How does it feel? And how do you shape your career and your path? That they are very interesting, that you move a lot.
Yes, I didn't take kind of a traditional path.
I know.
So I did. I went to Harvard undergraduate, and I was a math major at Harvard, and that studying math and the sciences had always been my passion. And was actually started out as pre-med and had the intention of studying to actually follow in the footsteps of my father, who was a physician and a surgeon. And it's always, if you'd asked me as a little boy what I thought I'd be when I would grow up, I would immediately say I'm going to be a doctor. And that's really all I knew. And then when I got to Harvard, which was a wonderful experience, I started taking, in addition to classes in the sciences and the math, it was really eye-opening because I had a chance to take classes in the arts and discover a whole different world out there. And especially when I started taking film classes. First of all, I couldn't believe that you could get credit for taking film classes. It just seemed so amazing. Like, I'm actually going to get class credit for watching films and studying films. And I really became kind of passionate about it. So I realized at a certain point that
that happened at Harvard.
It happened at Harvard. I started taking film classes.
Wow. Okay.
And I started really enjoying it. And I started taking more and more classes in film and literature and art history and other things that I think really kind of, and being in that environment, which, was a great environment, even in just the city life there was so much going on in terms of theater and we had all these great art house films. And it was really kind of a discovery period for me in a very good way. And I realized I didn't necessarily want to be a doctor.
When did you realize that you didn't want to be a doctor?
It was like halfway into my experience there. So it was kind of between my sophomore and my junior year.
Okay.
That's when I decided, I continued. I was already so deep in studying math, and I still do love math, that I stayed as a math major, but I decided not to go pre-med and not to take all the required pre-med courses, because that's a very intense workload. And I wanted to free up my course load to study other things and take film classes and things like that. So I stopped being pre-med at that point. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do as a career. I had no idea, which I think was fine. I think it's good not to know exactly what you want to do at that age. I was just kind of, like I said, discovering a lot of things. But I was very fortunate upon graduation that I had somebody who was a classmate a couple years ahead of me who was working. First of all, when I graduated, most of my friends, a lot of my friends went into banking and started going down that path. And I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure what I did want to do. That's not what I wanted to do.
But when you knew it, like when you were at Harvard?
When I was at Harvard, yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't
you love the numbers, you feel passionate about it.
Yeah.
You didn't picture yourself like working in a bank.
I didn't. Okay. I think a lot of people just went to that because it was kind of it was almost the
next step.
Yeah, it was a well-trodden path, and it was the next step. And I don't know that they did it because they wanted to do it, or they just did it because that was an option laid in front of them.
Okay.
And a lucrative one, and a great one. I mean,
the interesting part here, when you did told your dad that you we want to know about that.
Well, I got to say, I'm one of 5 kids, and the youngest, and I think I was his last hope to be a doctor.
Oh.
Because none of us ended up being a doctor, so I think he was a little disappointed in that. But he was so happy with my career. He was always very supportive. I could have had more supportive parents. So he was very.
You decide not to be a doctor, and then the numbers when they show up.
My mother had a harder time at that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because she's like, well, she didn't know. She thought I was a little making a foolish decision. So she was a little more concerned. My father wasn't, but she was concerned.
Okay.
But they took it well. So, but I was fortunate when I came out of school, really not knowing what I wanted to do for the next step. I had a contact who worked at HBO in New York, and this is back, don't want to date myself, but this is back in the 80s.
Okay.
So, and at that time, and still is. HBO still is, but at that time, particularly that time, it was kind of this great creative force that was just really in its just growing and expanding and kind of taking the television world by storm. And I was so happy to be a part of that and to kind of get in early and grow with it. And interestingly, the reason I got a job at HBO wasn't because I was this great creative mind, because I was a math major. So I got a job in research, in the research department,
Okay.
which made sense because I was doing, my job there was to like study audience trends and viewing trends and maximize viewing opportunities. So it was using numbers. It was using my math background
Okay.
to do research for a television network. And it was a great way to start because then I learned how the company worked in all the different departments. And I did that for a while, but I didn't want to became kind of like pigeonholed as the analyst, the numbers guy. And I didn't want to be stuck in that in that area. I wanted to move over to the creative side because it seemed so much more interesting.
It was more fun.
It was much more fun, yes. So
Yeah.
to do that, to help aid that change to move over, I went to film school. While working at HBO, I went to NYU Film School and got a master's degree in film. So that kind of gave me the background and also the credentials to be able to like transition from just being a more of an analyst, a business analyst, to moving over into doing the creative side, into doing the content creation. And that worked out wonderfully, and I really enjoyed that. And I worked at HBO, living in New York for many years.
How many years?
7 years.
Okay.
And then had the opportunity.
So when you went back,
Yes.
I mean, you started like in another field, right? Like you were at HBO, but
Right.
doing like completely another thing.
That's how I got started
So
in a completely different area, but within the company, of course. So, but knowing in that space, I could see, because we were kind of like a back office entity. I could see how I could understand how the network ran and all the different divisions and what they contributed and really the underpinnings of how the TV network ran. And that really helped me in my career because then kind of being at a certain level and launching networks, I had that full understanding of basically how to launch a network, how to create a network, how to grow a network.
So you start there and then
I moved on into the content creation side.
Okay.
And then, which was.
And you have done many things. Tell us about it.
Oh, well, this is
Yes, a little.
When
I know.
A lot of what I did in my career, my television career, was the next phase. There was this new channel being launched, which was going to be a competitor to HBO. And so I was recruited to help launch this new channel.
Okay.
Called Starz, which is still operating today. But I was there from the very launch. So that was in the mid 90s. So that was a big step for me. And I was kind of a little bit of a risk because I was leaving a very known entity in a company that I love and a creative company that I was having a wonderful time at, to take a chance to kind of do something different. So it was a chance. And looking back, it was a great move because it helped me grow my career in many different ways that I may not have been able to do at HBO. HBO is a very much more stagnant, much more mature company, and to be able to start in a new network and again be there from the ground up and use my knowledge of when I was a research department to see how a network ran. It helped me really grow with this new
the company. I mean, you were starting with that company.
Yes.
And the numbers stay there or behind.
Yeah, well, I think it always helped me to have a good
Yes.
business background, a good numbers background, because I think, especially as, for instance, as I worked up in Starz and I was running all of the content, the finance department and our parent company, they had a strong, they trusted me because I was responsible for the bulk of the company's expense, all the programming. And if you're a TV network, the vast majority of your expense.
Tell us about like your job.
My job was to oversee everything that we put, if you were to watch our network, everything you would see on the network, I was in charge of, which includes all the licensing of the movies that we played, all the creation of our own original content that we aired.
I mean, you were the guy who was saying, yes, we're going to do this movie. We're not going to do that movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did mostly, we would license movies from the studios. So I did all the deals to license their films. It's hard to compete with their movies because they spend so much money on the movies. So to supplement the movie lineup, we would do television series. So I was the one who decided which series we would produce ourselves to complement the movies that we were licensing from the studios, and put it all in the mix, and then hopefully come up with the best lineup of
So you were
programming.
designing, okay, we're gonna run this TV show.
Yes.
We're gonna
Everything you saw when you watch our network, and plus we were a subscription network, which means just like HBO, there's no commercials. So all the interstitial content was our own production, in-house production.
Oh wow.
So I oversaw all the in-house production as well.
Okay.
So all the promotional material that we have for upcoming movies and upcoming shows, and different ways to create entertainment in between the movies and in between the series that we created. And I just oversaw the scheduling, the planning, the trafficking, the QC process, basically everything that has to do with the content for the network. And we also ran 17 networks. It was a
17
networks. There's a whole, it was in the heyday of multi-channel. So we had Starz and Encore, the two main channels, and each of them had a series of multi-channels. And we would do all the licensing for movies for all the channels, and we'd create original content for all 17 channels. So it was a lot of production that I oversaw.
Okay.
And like I said, my numbers background helped me maintain the balance between the creative and the production, and also getting the confidence in our parent company who was funding us and our finance department to make sure that all the funds that we were spending, which was hundreds of millions of dollars a year. I mean, some of the deals that we did were long-term deals.
I understand that part perfectly. Like it was easy for you.
Well, it was helpful, and they, it gave them the confidence that I knew what I was doing in those deals. We would do literally multi-billion-dollar deals in commitments for licensing fees for some of the major studios.
Wow.
So yeah, the costs were very high. And we also did a lot of documentaries, which I think was part of my passion too. We had all these niche channels that we would do special documentaries for to enhance the content.
Like
so for instance, like
which ones?
Like a great example is we had a Western channel, old American Westerns. And it was such
about the one that came out like in the Rolling Stone. What was it?
Oh, well, let me get to that. But like just for the niche channels, we had all these niche channels that we would license all these great films from the past. So and to enhance the film, so we would do programming festivals. So for instance, if we had I was just thinking the other day, if we had all these Western films that were Sam Peckinpah Western films, it was a wonderful, amazing, groundbreaking Western director. We did a documentary on Sam Peckinpah and his films, and kind of tied it all together. And we would do that regularly to enhance the movies. So it just we weren't just playing movies around the clock, but we were tying them together with programming packages and creating original content that would enhance the viewing experience. So then when you watch the Sam Peckinpah movies, you had a basis of understanding of what he was doing and what he was going through, and understanding all the films in his Western oeuvre.
Okay.
But what you're talking about, we got into a lot of original series because we really wanted to have more content of our own that was unique and proprietary, that we were creating, that we could market and promote, that would stand out to our viewers, to have them come and subscribe to our service. So we kickstarted Original Programming Farm, which I created and I founded and I built. And
you built it?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, I had a great team that I worked with, but yeah, it was part of my area and part of the things that I brought, was able to bring to the network. So we had a bunch of really early successes, which I was very, very proud of. And one of the show you're referring to is a very highly acclaimed critical comedy called Party Down, which sadly didn't have too long of a run for other reasons that I won't get into. But during its run, it was very highly acclaimed. And to this day, when Variety or Rolling Stone or Hollywood Reporter or some of the great, critical journalists or journalistic venues for television and film do all these lists. People love to do lists. So it's very often listed as one of the top 100 TV shows, not just comedies, but TV shows of all time. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
And in it showed you that in Rolling Stone, it was, I think, number 80. It's in the 80s. So I'm very proud of that. But that was more like a critical darling. And then we also did some more popular shows that were more like for the ratings. And one
which ones?
Well, the main one that we did that I was responsible for was a show called Spartacus.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was right during the time where like 300 and all these kind of comic book magazines were being turned into film, and they had that kind of visual look and style. So we took that same visual look and style, which was great cinematic, and then we created a TV series out of it, and it was wonderful. We were able to take advantage of this right after Peter Jackson set up the studios in New Zealand, all these very high-tech studios to shoot the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Wow.
So after he not vacated that, but he set this wonderful studio with great advanced CGI capabilities and very advanced film and television techniques. We used that facility where we shot Spartacus because, of course, we were recreating ancient Rome. And that show was very, very popular. It was our, to this day is the highest rated show that Starz has ever aired. And it spawned some sequels, and we played it for 4 years. But unfortunately, the storyline ends because the revolution, his revolt, Spartacus, ended. So we couldn't, it had a limited lifespan just because of the nature of the story. But that was very successful, and that was one of the other great series that I'm, more, pretty proud of.
And now, what are you doing?
Well, now, doing, interviews for podcasts, and that takes up most of my time. So.
Okay, thank you. And then you're gonna work because of Café Sin Ego.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
now I gotta get back to work.
People are listening.
I can't.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna finish. Yeah, the last question.
No, actually, I did. My career took a change in direction.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I actually took a detour, and I did something unique, which I'm really happy with. I went out on my own after work.
So you decide.
I worked at Starz for 19 years. I feel like I accomplished so much, and I had a wonderful career there. But having worked in large corporations, media corporations.
How does it feel to accomplish? Like you accomplished so much.
I guess it feels good, but I'm always kind of looking for my next accomplishment.
So you never have enough.
No, I mean, I
always want to.
Yes, I'm always striving to do more.
Okay.
Which I think is a good thing.
Okay.
So having worked for I really had 2 jobs all my life up until, I took a detour. I worked at HBO and I worked at Starz, and they're all wonderful experiences and great companies, but part of larger media entities, right? There are small divisions, or not so small, but divisions within a large media company. And so I wanted to do something on my own. So with another partner, I changed and I founded a sports network that was kind of riding the wave of the opening of sports betting in the United States. And we started this sports betting network based in Las Vegas that was like the Bloomberg of sports betting. It gives you all the analysis of what's going on in the sports world, breaking it down for what's going on in, up to the date analysis and as much advanced statistical and in-depth number crunching to help people who bet on sports. Because if you're betting on sports, you want to know the latest numbers, you want to know the latest lines, you want to know every little detail. And we provided that every little detail. So it was very, very intense 24/7 network focusing on sports betting. Wow. And we built that and we grew that over a 4-year period. And it was very successful, and we're very proud of that. And that was something that, I created on my own with my partners, and felt very good about that, and grew that to the point where then we sold that to a much larger sports betting company, DraftKings.
So you created and then you sold it.
Yes.
Okay.
Which in a lot of ways is kind of the way to bring it to another level, bring it to a much higher level. It's hard to be a niche independent network all by yourself. So we had the backing of a huge, $20 billion company in DraftKings. And I stayed on at DraftKings after the sell. I actually became part of DraftKings business development department, and I stayed there for a year or so before going out on my own again. Now I'm working since then. This was 2 years ago.
Okay.
I'm working independently, and I'm producing and directing a show, a TV series, a documentary series, also in the sports betting space, in this wonderful sports betting contest, which is the unique one, and it's the best in the world. And I'm documenting that, and I'm in my 2nd season of that, and enjoying that tremendously.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes, and I have this new kind of independence where I can basically
do
what I want,
and then,
pick projects that I want to work on as I want to work them, and work on. Yes. working on whatever, I feel passionate about at this point in my career.
And I noticed that you like to read a lot. So as a writer, I need to ask you, like, which is your favorite writer?
Well, I don't like to talk about favorites.
I know, but like the most.
I'm still stuck in a little bit.
I'm reading kind of
Yeah,
your
you
books.
get a sense of that. That's like more my film and academic
Okay,
side. This is
all
more
right.
I'm still kind of stuck in the past, and
Yeah.
maybe you can help me kind of break through that. But I still
Okay.
read kind of the classics. I read a lot of Russian literature,
Oh, wow.
and I was very love to reading a lot of Kafka and Dostoevsky and things like that. And in terms of American writers, one of my favorites,
Nietzsche.
and Nietzsche, yes. That's more hardcore, but yes, that as well. And Henry Miller is one of my favorite writers as well. Although I don't have two favorites. One of my preferred writers.
Okay, that's what I
Yes.
thought. So, and your dreams, do you put on? Do you have dreams?
I've got, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, many dreams.
Many
I
dreams.
record my dreams.
You record your dreams, and you
yes.
work with your dreams. Like what?
No, I just use them to
Just use them.
to try and stay sane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate a lot your time. Thank you very much for being here
Of
at
course.
Café Sin Ego.